I've been working on supply chain innovation for a while, for a year or so now, and I found a couple of gaps. So I'm here to share with you my thought process, and also show a tool that I'm developing. To have a fancy name, I started off working on trying to understand what are the impacts of radical innovations in supply chain, and my purpose was to develop a tool that can be used to guide the assessment of the impacts, and then use it to communicate to others that are not from supply chain. So first off, I don't want to disappoint you, so I came dressed almost exactly the same as the flyer. I'm gonna go to the end of the story right now. I'm working on a book, okay? And what I want to do is actually try to crowdsource this book with ideas, okay? So this is how the book will look like, and I'm planning to have the list of contributors that provide ideas or cases or revised manuscripts or challenge me with in any way. To have them recognized on the book. So if you want to join in the effort, then let me know. So we are living in a crazy business environment. Technology is making things very crazy. Okay, and we were just talking about the Brazilian barbecue. Well, that's an Argentine barbecue. Okay. And fortunately, it's 8 a.m. in the morning, so I'm not putting you with this picture against close to lunch. Mm-hmm. But as you can see, we enjoy a variety of things. We enjoy different cuts. Now, that's the nicest picture that I was able to find of a vegetarian dish. Okay? Would you, I mean, if you guys are not vegetarians, would you eat that over a... Probably?
I have a steak beside it.
Yeah, I was thinking beside it. Yeah, there you go. I mean, would you eat this? That looks pretty good, right? Actually, there's a little video here. Look at sizzling. Right? Beautiful char. That probably looks better than a vegetarian dish, right? Well, what if I told you that burger is not meat? Okay? So, I mean, the simple point I'm trying to make here is that technology is reaching a point where products are crazy. We are kind of in a crazy world, right? Things that were not possible a few years ago now are becoming real. So I got this phrase from Ken Boyd. You guys know Ken Boyd from KCC. A couple of years ago, I was trying to still find my next a big research project before I started this. And Ken basically said, look, it's easier to me to sell an idea through cost reduction, when I justify it with a cost reduction, than when I have to justify an investment because I need to develop a supply chain capability. Okay? So when the supply chain capability is not directly linked with a cost reduction, then that's a more difficult sale to do inside the company. And I heard this phrase or something similar to this already, and I understand why it happens, but I think we still need the challenge of how do we support the investments on capability developments, particularly in an environment where technology is reshaping so many aspects of our businesses. Okay, I mean the way customers behave, the speed at which we do businesses, the locations of suppliers, the number of suppliers that we use, all that scenario. The amount of data that we have to operate the business. Also, don't kill the messenger. But last year I was on a keynote speech in Chile, and Jose Luis, who was the VP of Unilever for Spain and France a few years ago, he told a story, and he said he told a story that he asked his CEO why logisticians were not part of board meetings as much as people from other functions. And the response was, well, logisticians are boring. Okay? And the reason why, he said, you only talk about inventory, you only talk about trucks. Okay? So this word talk, the way we talk, okay, kind of resonated in me, and I got very attracted by the way we talk. Then I found phrases like this. Technology will force the reassessment of global markets and economies and industries in a scale never experienced before. Well, I started thinking, well, if this is partly true, then if the businesses are going, if economies are going to be reshaped, if industries are going to be reshaped, then businesses are going to be reshaped. And if businesses are going to be reshaped, then supply chains are going to be impacted somehow. How? I don't know, but they will be impacted. And I do know that the majority of our effort is focused on cost and service, which again, I'm not complaining, I understand why that happens, but I was receiving signals that we needed to incorporate an additional, I don't know whether to say, set of criteria, or way of thinking to what we are doing. I mean, it's not an easy time, right? Because we are forced to increase the breadth of our thought and our actions. So, just one more word about technology. I mean, we can talk about how technology develops and why technology is developing now, but there's something that is called Moore's Law. I won't go into much detail about it. Moore's Law basically explains that the computer power that we experience now has been doubling every 2 years since 1968. Okay, so basically we doubled computing power about 35 times since 1968, which, I mean, if I tell you that, you might say, yeah, wow, interesting, but if you see this graphically, then it's more impactful. So let's assume for a second that human beings have the power to walk linear steps, right? So every step is about the same length as the previous stride, right? And let's assume that humans take linear steps of about 1 meter long. That's about 3 feet, right, or 1.1 yards. So, silly question, how far will I be after taking 30 linear steps? 30 meters, right? I'm going to be 30 meters from the start. Well, the question is, how far away do you think I'm going to be from the starting point if I take 30 exponential steps? So an exponential step is twice the length of the first one. So the first step is 1 meter long, right? The second one, 2 meters long. I won't even try 4 meters long, right? But you get the idea. So the question is how far I'm going to be from the starting point if I take 30 exponential steps. Any guess?
Do math.
27,000 or something?
I'm going to make it easier. How many times do you think I can walk around the Earth? 26. Okay? So just imagine how much computing power has increased. Okay? Now what's going on is that computing power is permeating every aspect of our lives. So it's permeating not only the NASAs of the world have the computing power, or the research labs of the world have the computer power, but also any research lab that any company has might be as well equipped as any other one, okay? And that's permeating every aspect of our life, and we are connected to something all the time. Consequently, we are collecting data in a very new way all the time. So the thought process, I'm going to jump here a little bit, but I'm just going to show you the main steps in the thought process, and hopefully this could be the beginning of a further conversation. So I said, okay, so computing power is crazy. We are having crazy technological developments. Okay, just to name a few, we're going to have, there's something that's called CRISPR, where any of us on a personal computer can edit DNA, okay, with a little bit of knowledge. We're going to have beef that has never seen a cow other than by the DNA, and Memphis meat is about to hit the markets sometime this year. Okay, so we are experiencing things that are pretty crazy. So what I did is I started to list and try to understand technologies, okay, and then say, okay, if technologies are going to change or are having changes, and the user experience also will be modified, will change. How the user experience will change? Well, new markets, new products, new uses for existing products, new ways of delivering the products, new business models. So you can think about the movie industry and Netflix. You can think about the Dollar Shaving Club. I mean, who would have said that a startup company would have succeeded in an environment where you have Gillette and Chic and Unilever as main players, right? Well, they have been acquired by Unilever as far as I know. But in this environment, I know that supply chain will have to change, okay? And I know that the implications for the supply chain are going to be beyond cost reduction. They're going to be in the realm of capability development. So I came back to Ken Boyd's comment. So I'm not gonna go in detail into the technologies, but in a nutshell, digitization, what we were talking at the beginning, we are replacing what traditionally were physical products with computer models. So Callaway Golf have shrunk the development process of a product because shrinking the prototype stage of the developing a golf club to more computing modeling. Well, 3D printing probably the most widely used, but here I am using my rocket cufflinks because I'm happy that SpaceX is doing space exploration, but these cufflinks are 3D printed for me, okay, for not too expensive, okay. So again, talking about the customer experience, you can go to a store and get your cufflinks immediately, or you can place an order, choose from the cufflinks that who knows who developed them, who designed them, and then have them 3D printed for you and send them to your home if you are willing to wait between a week and 10 days, right? So you see how the dynamics of the time in the supply chain starts to change because the product is customized for the user. Robots are becoming smaller, less expensive, more easier to program, replaceable limbs so that they can do more things. They can handle parts that are smaller. They don't need physical consistency on a part, so they don't have they have artificial vision, so they can move to choose the part where the part it is rather than having the part exactly in the same position over and over. Hydroponics, I believe that hydroponics are going to replace the way we grow vegetables. That's a way more efficient way of growing vegetables. Again, I can go deeper into each technology, but let's make it short. I like this example. So I guess that you all like cheese. Yeah, okay, I'm on a diet, so I haven't had cheese in 15 days. So I'm awesome, but man, I want a pizza. I feel great, but I do crave for a pizza. But anyway, cheese is made basically with two ingredients, which is milk and something that is called chymosin or rennin, which is an enzyme that we harvest from the belly of the cows. All animals have that enzyme in the belly, and it's part of what we need to do digestion. Okay, so pretty complicated process to harvest that enzyme from the belly of the cow. Well, there is a company that has a genetically modified safflower. Okay, so from a crop rather than from an animal comes that enzyme that can be used to either produce cheese, traditional cheese, or if you use it with milk that doesn't come from an animal source, then you can produce vegan cheese. Okay, again, technology, new product, new process, new supply chain, everything changes in that structure. Okay, well, beef is kind of a neat one, but we talked about beef. We have the protein supply chain has been disrupted at least from two fronts. One is the proteins from vegetable source, replacing proteins from animal source. Producing beef in the good old way, it's very bad for the environment, so there's tension also there. The carbon footprint of a beef is terribly bad, unfortunately, because I love beef. But also we are this year we are expecting to have beef on the shelves of the stores that have never seen a cow other than by the DNA. Okay, so again, it's crazy what is going on in technology. And then I like to talk about the bread and the pasta maker by Philips, because from a supply chain point of view, yeah, we can only see acute appliance. If you take a supply chain approach to understanding what's going on in that supply chain, humans are doing things that are kind of crazy. So I'm all for international logistics and importing and so on and so forth. However, we are shipping things around the world that probably we don't need to. Okay, and technology might be helping us to ship less things. So if you think about pasta, if you go to a store here in the US and you buy Italian pasta, Barilla, De Cecco, De Vita, Buitoni, any of the traditional Italian brands, pasta is basically made with eggs, flour, and water, right? So we are shipping around the world eggs, flour, and water. Well, they know how to do pasta better than I know, so I'd rather buy theirs. So it's a service, okay? However, think about bread. Bread also almost have the same components. We just add yeast and almost there, right? So you can see this as an appliance. What I see is actually manufacturing capability that is actually breaking up in 1,000 pieces or 1,000,000 pieces. And that manufacturing capability is moving away from a central location and is being spread around, moved closer to the end customer.
Sebastián, when you first showed me this one time, we talked about the cyclical nature of demand.
Yeah.
If you think about, 60 years ago, we used to bring flour, water, eggs to the house and make those things.
Sure.
And now convenience made it to where we go buy those things in the supermarket. And now some kind of, I want to know where my food comes from kind of activity that occurs. And I'm now going to revert back to the old supply chain and bring raw materials in, create it on my countertop.
Agree. I would add an element there. It is convenience, but also it's knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Because I like to cook, but I never messed with making pasta my own, and I know that I need to learn some things. So I have either put the effort of learning, or I buy Barilla, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that in the pasta that we bring from Italy, we also bring knowledge in the package. Now, that knowledge is actually in the machine, okay? And as a matter of fact, I don't know what they're doing. If I were the Barillas of the world, then I would be thinking in the Keurig or Nespresso approach. I would say, look, here's the machine, you provide the eggs, the flour, and the water, and here's a little capsule.
You get our knowledge.
That you get either, the spices, the seasoning, the special trick, or something like that. But if you read this idea, the pharmaceutical industry, the fact that we all get the same dose of a medicine, okay? Because the average patient shows that that dose is the adequate. When you, me, he, she, I mean, we are all different. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, no one is getting the right dose. That's what we know. Okay, so the customized medicine. So if you, well, I'm going to show you, but there is a general guideline of what is going to happen in general in all industries. We are moving to this. From my point of view, we are moving to a decentralization of manufacturing capability. We are moving manufacturing capability closer to the end customer. I guess that Amazon distribution network is already showing us that, right? That they're spreading smaller distribution centers all over the U.S. rather than having big ones concentrated in strategically in regions. So that trend seems to be present. And then the subscription model is another model a business model that is changing dramatically. Okay. So anyway, yeah, I came up with a list of things. So what I did is I analyzed how this technology will impact this business, how this technology will impact this business, how this technology will impact this business, and pretty soon I started to find pattern in how to describe those impacts. Okay, and that pattern is that one. Now I don't want to go too deep into this because I want to move on to the next topic, which to me is the most exciting about this. So we can go into the technical aspects if you want, but many times I was told you need to think outside the box, right? But you know what? Inside the box is cozy. I like it inside the box, right? It's warm. No one bothers me. So, I mean, the box is the knowledge that I develop and the way I solve problems. So I don't want to add anything else. So that's one. Human beings like the box, okay? And second, help me out. I mean, what does it mean to think outside of the box, right? I mean, and I found that even people that told me think outside of the box couldn't tell me how to make it happen. So I didn't want to fall into that. So if I am telling you that supply chains are going to be disrupted, I felt like I wasn't being truth with myself if I didn't provide you a tool to help you analyze how your supply chain will be disrupted. So that's one. The other one is supply chain people in general are awesome at innovating for cost reduction and service improvement, for efficiency. Okay, so we operate more on the rational side of the brain, and I want to start tapping on the more creative side of the brain of supply chain professionals, including mine. Right, I'm including myself in this group. Right, I'm not talking to other ones. I'm also talking to myself. And then I stumbled with this phrase that hit me for a while. Still, it has hit me since then, but it took me some time to understand. And the phrase is by George Bernard Shaw, and it says, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And yeah, but what that means is in my head I have my ideas that are connected with everything in my mind, with my knowledge and my experiences, and then I convert that into words. Well, when I convert them into words, they already lose quality. My ideas lose quality, right? Because they are not connected anymore with everything else I have in my head. And then I share those words with you. Hopefully you listen to all of them, and then you connect them with your ideas that are different to mine, right? So the chances of communication are pretty low in general. And this is why in management, the last 10, 12 years, there has been a revolution in terms of visual communication, okay? And every time we can communicate something visually, it's better. Well, I found that there was no tool, so there was no tool about visual communication that relates to supply chain. So I put all these things together and said, okay, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a toolbox that actually helps me think outside of the box, that uses the most creative part of my brain, okay, because I think that's more fun, actually. I don't know whether more fun, but it's fun to use the creative part. That actually helps me understand how technologies will disrupt supply chains. And we can also use that for improve our communication, okay? And all this in a context where technology is accelerating the rate of innovation. So, questions up to here? That could be one part of the message. No? So, I focus on developing a tool that brings us clarity into communications. Well, this is what happens. So, yesterday in class, I was talking to my international logistics students, and I told them, look guys, you need to understand that if you are starting a path to become supply chain professionals, then every function in the company talks a different language, right? And if you want to convince a salesperson or a finance person, and you talk to that person in supply chain terms, you're going to put that person to sleep in 20 seconds. So the better you are at communicating supply chain stuff is if you're able to talk about supply chain issues without getting dirty with the supply chain details. Maybe there's a time for that. But to make the sale at the beginning, you have to talk in a different set of terms. So the question is, how do we develop a message that is clear, that is complete, that is congruent, so that all aspects of my story fit, okay? Everything I'm telling you tell the same story, support the same story, and that actually increases the chances for communication. So I developed this canvas, okay, which is a tool to be completed. The boxes in the canvas are set, and the boxes come out from that research that I've done on how technologies disrupt supply chains. And I found that with these boxes, if we put ourselves in the process of completing the canvas, then we will put ourselves in the situation of trying to explain an improvement opportunity in a way that is relevant to the business, that includes the main aspects of supply chain, and sets the expectations correctly to evaluate progress.